Are the words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control.
We think we have it very well under control. We pretty much shut it down. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle, it will disappear. We can hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000. It's a horrible number. We all together have done a very good job.
As the nation surpassed 4 million COVID cases and over 145,000 deaths this week.
It's something that we have tremendous control of, and I think we're going to win faster than people think, I hope. You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. The virus is going to disappear. I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine.
The coronavirus itself, SARS-CoV-2, is here to stay.
As the U.S. surpasses a staggering 400,000 deaths, the incoming CDC director says another 100,000 could die in the next month.
It is what it is. It's going to fade away. We're in very good shape.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it a 10. I think we've done a great job.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Wait, you're getting nervous, man.
Y'all better be nervous. You know what time it is. Around the nation. Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here. We got a great show. It's Friday! TGIF! Made it through another week. And so, we've got a great show today. Yes, I'm going to talk about Biden's, vaccine mandate, if that's what you want to call it. We'll get into the details and actually why I'm fairly in favor of this, and maybe some negative points as well, because, I got to be fair about the news and what I believe and what I think. So we'll not get, we're going to get into that. I don't want to give too much away. Then we're going to go to the conservative reaction. Interesting. And then we also have CNN's reaction to the speech itself. Which is at least one CNN host, Jake Tapper, not happy with it, apparently. And we'll discuss this. It should be a very interesting show. So now, we also, of course, are going to talk more about conspiracy theories in general. There's an excellent report, ironically, from CNN, about, just interviews with Trump supporters and why they're clinging to conspiracies. And it's not just COVID, of course, but it's also other conspiracy theories like the election, etc. And I kind of want to dive into why I think conservatives are just like awash in conspiracy theories. Because again, that's sort of the main thing that I've been talking about in the show for probably forever. I know some of you older viewers, and I mean older by like, you've been here longer. Those of you who've been watching me since like 2013, 2014, I've always been going after anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theorists. And so I've been doing that for a long time. And I do want to talk about why people, especially on the right, are being, misleading themselves into conspiracy theories. So that's an interesting discussion. We'll talk about that. And then we've got Arizona, an update on the audit. So that's fun. It's hilarious. Could be, I think you'll enjoy it. The ridiculousness. All right, so that said, Let's see. Let's see. Got all sorts of stuff going on here. Okay. We got weirdo conspiracies going on here. That's not true already. Fun times. Weirdos. Total weirdos. All right. But hey, this is what happens when you're dealing with nuts. Like insane people who figured out how to use Control V and Control P. That is copy and paste, respectively. So we're not going to do the copy pastas here, okay? We're not doing that. So, like, if you actually want to have a real conversation and have an open mind when it comes to science, that's great. And, you know, want somebody to convince you to take the vaccine, well, first I'd go and talk to your doctor, obviously. Because don't take medical advice from podcasters. Don't take medical advice from YouTubers. What I'm taking my advice to give to you is from science, scientists, doctors, the overwhelming medical community, and that's who, you know, that's who's giving me the advice on vaccines. And I would rather listen to actual science instead of BS that somebody saw in a Facebook post from a conservative troll farm. So, anyway, fun show. Yeah, copy pasta. I like pasta, just not the copy kind. All right. I look like I like pasta. I don't know if you could tell. All right, anyway. Let's do it. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. Helps us out greatly. Patrons, patreon.com/SheffWaldorf, of course, help us out. Twitch, hello Twitch viewers. Hello Facebook viewers, by the way. A lot of you here on Facebook, so welcome to the show. A lot of different viewers. Germany, hey, welcome to the show. Got a lot of, you know, viewers that are from across the pond, across the world. I think it's awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Love it. All right. Let's move on. Science is overrated. I'm covered in the blood of Jesus. All right. Fun times. Did you see the Wired story about Twitch suing 2 streamers for the hate raids? Day after Twitch worked. Hey, that's great. That's good. Good news to see. We could use all the good news we can get. All right. Well, let's start out with the first story. It's kind of good news, actually. Wolfland99 says this, and this is important too. I got COVID recently, was fully vaccinated, it's a breakthrough case. My PO2 was 92 and had trouble breathing, just barely stayed out of the hospital. If I had not been vaccinated, I would have died. So, yes, I'm so glad that you're okay, that you're recovered, and that the vaccination did work. So I'm happy to see that you're all right. And thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate that. All right. Now let's get to the story. By now, I think we've all had enough of the vaxxers holding us up from controlling the COVID-19 pandemic. So, look, the numbers of COVID have not gotten that much better. In fact, they're still pretty bad, and not as bad as, of course, they were at the beginning of the pandemic when it was really just taking off. We didn't have vaccines. Thankfully, we do. But still, we have an average of 150,000 new COVID cases a day. There are 1,500 daily deaths, adding to the 653,000 Americans so far that we've counted dead from the start of the pandemic. And that number is likely higher. So now, interestingly enough, or I should say devastatingly enough, that is sure to eclipse the death toll from the 1918 influenza pandemic, and it's also far greater than every U.S. conflict that we've ever been in except for the Civil War. In short, it's still not good out there. It's still not great. So now, what's going on? Look, President Biden, Joe Biden ran on trying to control the pandemic. And so far, you see these numbers, and they look fairly disastrous. And so a lot of Americans have been calling on the Biden administration to do something. So now right-wingers will do that, but they'll do it disingenuously because, Biden says he's going to control the pandemic. Well, okay, but you're not doing your part in getting vaccinated or wearing masks. So you just can't sit there and complain when you're doing absolutely nothing to help the situation. But there are legitimate critics on the left that have been calling on Biden, hey, we need to do something more. Maybe we need to start doing mandates. You need to get involved and really start to push vaccinations and face coverings and things like that. And so we're in luck. That's kind of what he did. So now, in a speech yesterday, he announced a new plan. That's a 6-pronged plan to try to deal with COVID-19. And here's some of what he said. Take a look.
What more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing. But just don't take it from me. Listen to the voices of unvaccinated Americans who are lying in hospital beds, taking their final breath saying, if only I'd gotten vaccinated. If only. It's a tragedy. Please don't let it become yours.
All right, so look, he's right. We have been patient. We have tried to explain it calmly, rationally. We've used facts, studies, information backed up by the majority of the medical community. We've vouched for its safety. We've shown studies on the efficacy. And of course, right now, you can look around and you see all these people that are vaccinated, and you compare that to the section of the population that isn't vaccinated, and you look and you see, well, who's in the hospital more? Who's dying of COVID more? 97% of all hospitalizations are among the unvaxxed. 99% of deaths are among the unvaxxed. So there's a significant issue here, but that really points to the fact that the vaccine works. And so we have encouraged people to take it. We have tried to combat the disinformation, which is everywhere, and yet still, no. They refuse to take it. They refuse it. So now it's time for hardballs. On your face, in your face, on your chin. Okay, you asked for it. You want the hardballs? We'll give you the hardballs. All right? So now Biden had put out a 6-point plan. I'm going to read some of that, of course. Biden first directed the Labor Department to require all employers with more than 100 workers to require either the vaccine or regular testing, with a penalty, of course, of $14,000 on the employer for every occurrence. So if they're not mandating vaccines for people to go to work in these big companies, the company themselves are going to lose money. And so, of course, that's a stick. They're saying, here you go. You do this, or you do testing, by the way. And so, by the way, there is an option here in this to avoid getting the vaccine. So now, the White House also says that they'll strengthen vaccination requirements for most federal workers, but remove the option for workers to get regular testing rather than, as I said, the vaccine. He'll also sign an executive order requiring the same standard from federal contractors. As I mentioned, there is an option, probably so that right-wingers would not scream bloody murder, but of course, right-wingers, you're never going to please them. You're just never going to please them at all. So now, by the way, getting tested weekly does kind of dilute the effectiveness of the mandate, makes it not really a mandate. And of course, there's for people who don't actually work, there's that as well. And so, look, I get it. The hope here is that the testing is so absolutely annoying that people are just going to give up and they're going to go and get the vaccine. I mean, and that makes sense, right? So now, if you test positive for COVID, you miss work, you miss a paycheck, you have to quarantine, of course, and then hopefully that consideration might make people want to give up and go get the vaccine. The whole purpose is to make things, to not getting the vaccine so fucking annoying that you say, okay, fine. All right. Now, another part of the plan is readying a booster. Now, I'm skeptical on the booster. The science doesn't really back that up specifically. So far, there's really no indication that a booster is necessary at this point. Although the CDC website does suggest that people should not get a booster until at least 8 months after getting their second dose. And those likely to need a booster are really older Americans and first responders. And so I wouldn't even focus on the booster. I wouldn't even talk about it right now. Okay. Again, that just kind of feeds into, well, the vaccine works and we don't need a booster, right? And all that disinformation. So now, again, I don't quite agree with his focus on the booster. I don't think we quite need it yet. We need to get this under control first. All right. And have more studies on the long-term, effectiveness of these vaccines further out. Now, another part of the plan is increasing an order on testing, right? So now testing, as well as he's going to basically invoke the Defense Production Act to increase the amount of tests that are produced and spread around so that obviously we can do more testing. Plus, you also have an increase in the use of monoclonal antibody treatments. So monoclonal antibodies are actually pretty effective at treating people with a possibility of high progression of this virus. And so that's actually one of the effective treatments. In fact, it was so effective, that's one of the ones that Donald Trump got. And it's very likely one of the ones that actually helped Joe Rogan, if he indeed, of course, had gotten COVID in the first place, because there is confusion on that as well. And so the way the reason I say that is because, well, not long afterwards, he ended up actually having 2 negative tests, meaning that he might not have even had COVID at the first time. He might have actually had a false positive. And so you don't really know. So he might have just thrown the kitchen sink at nothing. I don't know. That's it, right? Monoclonal antibodies, though, they actually do work. Ivermectin does not. And so it's good that they're focusing on cures that actually do, well, I wouldn't say cures, but treatments that actually do work, pairing them with the vaccine, and of course with masking in schools and things like that. So now, one thing I do not agree with this plan that was outlined is to open the schools, or to keep the schools open. And there's a reason for that. As long as you have governors that are fighting mask mandates, and the fact that kids under 12 are still not allowed to be vaccinated, schools are going to be a hotbed of infection, unfortunately. Even though children are, of course, the least likely age group to get sick or die from the virus, they can still spread it to family members who are unvaccinated or immunocompromised. And so that is an issue. And of course, children are being hospitalized, again, at lower numbers, much lower numbers than adults. They're getting hospitalized and they are dying as a result of not being vaccinated. And of course, the lack of mask mandates in these schools. I think the rush to get people into schools, both under Trump and under Biden, was really about just getting the adults back to work. And so, hey, the corporations, the donors really want to get people back to work and start producing profit for corporate owners, the CEOs, and things like that. And by the way, the so-called labor shortage, which is, it's not really so much of a labor shortage as the fact that there are places that don't offer good enough pay, benefits, or childcare. There are people with children that, can't or won't send their kids back to school because, again, you don't have affordable childcare, and you have schools that are still closed. And so, or again, they choose not to because these schools are fairly unsafe. It's interesting, though. There is a $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation framework. And one of the ideas that's supposed to go in there is free childcare. Now, corporate Democrats, unfortunately, are blocking that. And so I think Joe Biden needs to get tougher on Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, people like that, that are blocking his agenda in order to pass it while we still have time. Because 2022, that midterm is coming. And if we don't do something and pass this, this gigantic infrastructure bill, I'm worried that Democrats are going to lose the House, they're going to lose the Senate, and then Biden's going to be a lame duck and not get anything done. And so, yes, he does need to get tough on corporate Democrats. Still, I do want to give him some credit because this is tougher than I thought that he would be. And so, I like that. Please, let's see more tough Joe Biden. All right. Between this and pushing back, of course, on the media and defending his position on Afghanistan, which was the correct one, by the way, pulling out of Afghanistan, ending that war, is probably one of the best things that he's done so far. There's no reason that we need to be in Afghanistan. We should have never been in Afghanistan. Pulling out of Afghanistan was always going to be messy, was always not going to be good. The Taliban was always, or somebody was going to fill that vacuum. And so it was a no-win scenario, and especially no-win for us if we were to stay. So there it is. So by all means, do more stuff. And by the way, when the media was hammering him about Afghanistan, he was like, don't care. Don't care. I did the right thing. I did the good thing. I did the right thing. Shut up. Essentially, and I like that. I like it when a Democrat actually shows some sort of strength against the media and doesn't cower down, doesn't back down in the face of criticism. And we saw too much of that, of course, from President Obama during his years where he was afraid that Fox News would criticize him. Biden just doesn't seem to give a shit. Maybe now I'm starting to see how he fought against Corn Pop, because I hear Corn Pop was a bad dude. Just imagine if Joe Biden goes after Manchin like this and starts pushing back. Oh, if only he would. Oh, if only he would fight to try to get rid of the filibuster. If only he would see that. If he does that, well, that's it. I'll be a Biden stan, at least on that regard. If he actually is able to pressure Manchin to get rid of the filibuster, of course we're going to see what happens. But if you're going to go in this direction, though, great. I want to see more of it. All right. Moving on. We got conservative reactions. Oh boy. Conservatives are not happy with President Joe Biden's plan to mandate vaccination at big corporations. So now the plan would, of course, would require all employers. The plan would require all employers with more than 100 workers to require either the vaccine or regular weekly testing in order to combat COVID-19 at the workplace. Of course, it's supposed to make it basically so inconveniencing to people who decide not to get vaccinated that they say, okay, I'll get vaccinated. Good. So now this, unfortunately, has led to many of salty tears from conservatives and screams of dictatorial overreach. In fact, I have a small sampling for you of the Freakout. Enjoy.
Perhaps the most egregious assault on our freedoms since habeas corpus was suspended during the Civil War.
This kind of forced vaccination is actually very, very harmful to public health.
Medical bigotry.
This is the most overbroad, unconstitutional, and absolutely insane assault on our civil liberties in recent memory.
My blood is boiling, enraged at what I've seen from the White House today, trampling on our freedom, trampling on our liberty. I call on my fellow Americans, do not comply. Do not comply with the tyranny. And when the Gestapo show up at your front door, you know what to do.
He's an angry man. He's a bitter man. He's humiliated by the Afghanistan situation. He's upset with the economic recovery where it should be, but it's not. So he's taking that anger out on the unvaxxed.
Basically, he said the unvaxxed are the new terrorists.
It's all this Marxism thing that's following through everything that they're doing. I am sick and tired of his going up against Abbott and DeSantis and then saying to the flight attendants, you know what, show some respect for the flight attendants. Maybe some of the flight attendants ought to show some respect to us, okay? If you're trying to feed a 2-year-old yogurt without the mask on and they decide to throw the mother off, I mean, I could go on and on about the absurdity of people who don't have power, who are suddenly engaged in half power, then they abuse it.
Who says it stops at a COVID vaccine? Why isn't it family leave? Why isn't any other item on the liberal death wish list?
Okay. I'm sorry. I just love that last part where it's like, oh, if they could mandate vaccines, what if they do family leave? Based. That would be actually pretty good. That sounds fantastic. Yes, please. Oh no, Joe Biden, please don't mandate paid family medical leave or just paid family leave. Oh no. Oh, how terrible. I love how he had to add in like liberal death cult to family or whatever, liberal death wish list to like paid family leave. How does that even, okay. Anyway, it really does remind me of all the different times that Fox News, conservative media have put up like these supposedly scary graphics of like, oh, it's the Democrat agenda. And it's filled with things like free child care, paid family leave, higher wages, better health care, and all these great things. And it's like, wait, is that supposed to be scary? Like, I actually really like those things. Those things sound fantastic. They even sent like, I remember when conservatives sent somebody over to a Bernie Sanders rally, and she's like, I don't know, all this stuff sounds kind of good. I mean, policies sound pretty good. Oh, that's scary. It's socialism. Oh no. So look, my favorite though video in that little compilation is the dude standing in the random ass cornfield. Like, I watched the whole thing, and I believe it's Josh Mandel, and he's running for Congress. I forget where, in the middle of nowhere, obviously, and so he wants you to believe that like he's like driving around, and he hears the like the news, and he's listening like talk radio or something like that, and he hears the Biden thing, and he's so mad that he pulls over into a random cornfield and then sees a Trump sign. And so he just said, oh, I'm going to stand next to the Trump sign. It had to have been, it was just, had to have been divine intervention at this point. Cause, he's still my president. Yeah. Joe Biden's not my president. He's not the real president. Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. What is wrong with you? No, I just happened to find this random Trump sign in the middle of a cornfield, and that's where I decided to film. I'm going to bet that, no, that's not what happened. Look, I'm not saying that there aren't random Trump signs sitting in cornfields in certain places, right? Yeah, of course. I still find random Trump signs in some rural parts of Michigan. Okay, I get it, right? But for me, I don't know. I think that seems too convenient. I'm going to call bullshit. I think he either drove around looking for one of those signs or had one in the back of his truck so he can pose with it. Because you know how these Trump candidates are. Oh, yeah, no, I'm pro-Trump. I got Trump everything. Yeah. And they can't wait to go and like make a video or do a photo op or something ridiculous like that. So, but look, the rest of that, you heard it, salty tears. Cry more. Oh, cry more, conservatives. Your tears sustain me. Oh, you know what this is? This is not water. This is it's conservative tears. This is. And yes, it was kind of bubbly. Now it's not anymore. Delicious. Very salty. So look, no, here's the thing, okay? So now in Overreach, they want to talk about tyranny and want to talk about Overreach. Okay. Well, let me give you an example of what Overreach would be. Overreach would be a police officer or a team of police officers coming to your house and forcefully injecting you with the vaccine. Now, I'm not in favor of that. Nobody watching is in favor of that. No American is in favor of that. And it's not actually happening here. By the way, let me give you another example of, Overreach. Paying bounties to people, to private citizens to go and sue people who you think are having an abortion. I wonder where that's happening at. Yes. But no, the thing is, on this, you do have a choice. Either get vaccinated or get a weekly test to go to work. Okay, well, look, if you choose to do neither, which is an option, by the way, no Jackbooted Thug's going to come and forcefully inject you with something. No, that's not going to happen. You can go home, you can sit home and stew in your freedom all day while the rest of us go out and live our lives. That's it. That's the whole point. Again, unless you're going to admit that the core of capitalism is coercive and that you are forced to, work to survive, which might make the point of socialists everywhere. And, I don't think you want to do that, do you? But again, the overall point of the mandates are to make life so inconvenient to anti-vaxxers. And by the way, conservatives do this in other areas. And so there's an era and a little bit of hypocrisy involved in this, because you think about it, what do conservatives do for welfare benefits? Well, they put a lot of barriers. Abortion access, they put barriers and barriers, red tape, bureaucracy, means testing. Both conservatives, corporate Democrats and Republicans do means testing to try to discourage people from, accessing those programs, those systems, right? Things like that. Now, that's an inconvenience, right? Look, Republicans make it super, super inconvenient to go and vote with voter suppression, all right? And removing polling places and making sure that people have to wait 6 hours in line to vote. And so, yes, they go and make these things as inconvenient as possible to do stuff. So now what the mandate is doing is making it as inconvenient as possible, and it kind of works in a reverse way, to not get vaccinated. So you need a vaccine passport or whatever, proof of vaccination to go to the gym, to go to the restaurant, to go to the movie theater, or to go to your job, right? And so in the hopes that, okay, fine, I'll get the vaccine, or fine, I'll at least wear a mask. That's it. And so, again, it's a form of social engineering, no doubt. But understand that social engineering is essentially a part of central part of government. And so it's incentives, it's disincentives, and things like that. That's how social engineering actually works. Okay? And so what we've done first with the vaccine is that, we offer the carrot. And that carrot being, of course, it's free, accessible, it's easy to get done. We know that it works. Hell, we'll even in some places, we'll pay people to get the vaccine. We'll offer, enroll everybody who's vaccinated into a lottery, and they could win $100,000 or something like that, right? And so we did that. We tried the carrots. Didn't work. Now it's time for the stick. You want to go to the gym? You want to eat out? You want to do all that stuff? Get a vaccine. We'll even make it easy for you, even easier than it is now, right? And do paid time off. That's what the Biden bill does. It actually literally gives you paid time off to go take time to get the vaccine from your workday, and then gives you time in case you have, like, in case you feel like crap for the next couple of days, to go feel better. And all of that is paid. He's even offered, by the way, to pay for schools that get defunded in places like Florida if they want to do a mask mandate. And so here's Biden using the power of the federal government as not only a carrot, but also as a stick to try to get people to take the COVID vaccine so that we can actually get rid or at least minimize the pandemic, turn it into endemic, just like the flu or whatever like that, and reduce the amounts of infections and deaths in this country so we can get back to a semblance of normal. That's it. That's it. And so here's the thing. We have done everything. We have asked nicely in order to protect our health. Well, we're done asking. We're done. I'm sorry. We're done bowing to the shrieking minority of people who refuse to think about anyone but themselves. Now, how do you teach people to care about other people? Well, it turns out you can't. And you don't. And that's when you have to get tough and you have to stop coddling the babies. I have more example of these conservative tiers. I have Twitter, on Twitter, I got a couple here. One person says, "Hey, loony bird dictator Biden, same nut closed down American businesses while our southern border is wide open. Hashtag Biden is a disgrace. Hashtag vaccine mandate." When did Biden shut down the economy? When did he shut down American businesses? Was there a lockdown under Joe Biden that I missed? I mean, I guess certain states, California, did some small localized lockdowns, but as far as I know, we haven't had a lockdown, a national lockdown under Biden, directed by Biden. But you know when that did happen? That happened under Trump, where we had a quasi lockdown, but not really. There's more. Emily McGill on Twitter says, Is anyone else getting strong Venezuela vibes after listening to Biden's speech? Hashtag straight to jail. Hashtag dictator Biden. Hashtag Biden is a disgrace. Hashtag I will not comply. Oh my God, they use so many fucking hashtags. Annoying. Okay, so for one, who's going to jail? Who? Is anybody going to jail? Anybody? Anybody? No, it's a fine paid by the company if you don't vaccinate or test. If you choose not to get involved, well, you could always stay home. Nobody's going to jail. Nobody's coming to your door. All right? But no, Vuvuzela. It's George Orwell's 1985. Hugo Chavez. Communism. Coming to your house. Wandering Your Patriot says, is this still America? Because this doesn't feel like America. Reminds me of South Park. Oh, I thought this was America. No, dipshit. Let me tell you something. We've always had vaccine mandates in this country. So yes, it is America. You have to have vaccines to go to school. You have to be vaccinated to travel. This really isn't any different. I mean, in fact, what we did, we did vaccine mandates to stamp out smallpox. And guess what? Do you see anybody in America dying of smallpox right now? No. No. But of course, look, if conservatives have their way, I mean, they've totally, embraced anti-science at this point. They're going to make infectious diseases great again. Literally killing themselves on the libs. Ridiculous. No, again, here's the thing. If this didn't affect me and my family and people that I care about, I'd be fine with you doing whatever you want with your freedom. Okay? But it's not. It still affects a lot of people. So you're going to have to be a fucking team player here, All right? Take one for the team, okay? And stop being a crybaby and get the vaccine. Because you know what? We're out of patience for you. So I see this everywhere, right? Not a real vaccine, not a real vaccine. The fuck does that even mean? It's a vaccine. It protects you against virus. What is this even? Like, what is this ridiculous, stupid talking point that I'm seeing? It's so dumb. It's so, like, Jesus Christ. Oh, it's not a real vaccine. Who says? Who says it's not a real vaccine? It's not a vaccine because it doesn't prevent disease. I'm sitting like, dude, how many vaccines do you think are a Superman shield for disease? Yes, Balonius Monk, 100%. Yes, you know what the vaccine does? So it doesn't prevent 100% of disease, okay? It has a pretty high effectiveness at preventing you from getting disease, but also preventing you when a breakthrough happens, which, by the way, 1 in 5,000. That's the odds of you getting, as a vaccinated person, COVID-19. 1 in 5,000, according to a new study. So the odds are pretty low that you're going to get COVID-19 as a vaccinated person. If you are unvaccinated, the odds are much higher that you're going to get COVID-19. So the vaccine does work. It's a real vaccine. So it's such a fucking, no, it doesn't. It's such a stupid talking point. It's not, you're getting information from fake sources. Literal fake news. No, all right, you're banned. Fuck off. Chud. Like, I'm tired of arguing with stupid people. Reducing viral load. Yes. And by the way, it still is possible to get COVID when you've been vaccinated. It still is possible to, spread the virus to other people, even if you're vaccinated. But the odds are much, much, much lower. And that's the whole point. That's how it works. That's how it works. That's how all vaccines have worked. The chickenpox vaccine doesn't prevent the chickenpox. That's how all vaccines work. There is no vaccine for stupidity. Okay, here's one more thing that I've noticed about conservatives, by the way. If something doesn't work 100%, then they say it doesn't work at all. They make this equivocation, like this weird mental gymnastics, where they think, oh, well, if something doesn't work 100% of the time, then it doesn't work at all. Then it's not worth it. Are you fucking stupid? Do you even know how percentages work? Do you know how anything works? How can you get out of bed? How can you tie your fucking shoes? Okay, do you not understand what you're talking about? Of course you don't. Of course you don't. If you don't understand percentages, if you don't understand risk mitigation, if you don't understand how levels of protection and efficacy actually work. Ridiculous. Okay, more. By the way, okay. So you probably noticed that I'm getting super pissed off, and I've got no patience anymore for unvaccinated people. So now I'm gonna lay into Jake Tapper, because Jake Tapper, you're gonna see in the segment, Jake Tapper is gonna piss me off. So let's do it. CNN anchor Jake Tapper is not happy with President Joe Biden, his recent speech. So apparently, he didn't like his tone. Now, on Thursday, President Biden delivered a speech in which he announced a 6-pronged plan of attack against the Delta-fueled coronavirus surge, one which included some very broad vaccine requirements. And also, in that speech, he did scold anti-vaxxers just a little bit twinged him. And in fact, I'm going to show you that.
What more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing. But just don't take it from me. Listen to the voices of unvaccinated Americans who are lying in hospital beds, taking their final breath saying, if only I'd gotten vaccinated. If only. It's a tragedy. Please don't let it become yours.
All right, so now conservatives, of course, have been raging about this. Oh my God, how dare he blame the unvaccinated? How dare you blame the unvaccinated for this virus? Well, whose fault is it? Fucking Santa Claus? Well, like, what, is he spreading COVID in your stockings? Oh, bitches, here's COVID. No, it's the unvaxxed. It's the unvaccinated people. I know conservatives have already come up with a conspiracy theory. No, it's actually the vaccinated people that are spreading the virus. Weird, because if it's vaccinated people getting and spreading the virus, how come vaccinated people are not in the hospitals? How come it's only unvaxxed people that are getting massively ill and hospitalized and dying of COVID? Weird. But no, okay. So now, yes, it's the fault of the unvaxxed. Now, before I get into this, there are some important caveats I want to point out, okay? So now, for the people who have had bad reactions to vaccines, okay, I get it. I get why you're vaccine hesitant, and I even get why, if you're allergic to anything that's actually in this vaccine, well, then, of course, we understand if you don't want to take it. Great, that's fine. That's fine. Totally understandable if you're physically unable to get it, as long as it's legitimate. Or, look, I'll even go out and say, if you've been led to believe by our terrible healthcare system that this vaccine is going to cost you something and you can't afford it, okay, I understand that too. But guess what? Good news is that it's free. It actually is free, and you're able to go and get it anywhere for free. So that's great. So now, for the people, of course, who are afraid, hey, look, I want to take the vaccine, but I can't miss work. I can't take time off work. I can't take the time to go and be sick, for the recovery time, just in case I have a reaction to the a fairly normal reaction. I'm not saying an adverse reaction, but a fairly normal reaction from the vaccine, where you feel like crap for a couple of days, and you can't afford to miss out on work. Well, guess what? The mandate now gives you mandatory paid leave. So you can go and you can take it, and you can get vaxxed, and you can take a couple of days off, and all of it's paid for. And then, of course, there are issues with access in rural areas, inner cities, and that's an important consideration. Also an important consideration is hesitancy in the Black and Indigenous communities. There has been a history of medical experimentation on those specific groups in this country, Tuskegee experiment. I can understand hesitancy coming from that. That stuff has left scars in those communities that need to heal. And of course, there are outreach. There are basically plans to do outreach in those areas as well. So for all of those caveats, I'm not talking about you. Okay, understand. I'm not talking about you here. Those are legitimate things. Legitimate reasons as to why some Americans, mainly happens to be low people, not of means, people of color, why some of them are not getting vaccinated. The people who are not legitimate is the megachuts. I'm talking about the white upper middle class faux patriots. That's who I'm talking about. He's not my president. Those dickheads who cosplay as freedom fighters. Oh, I'll take a bullet for this country. You won't even take a shot to protect your neighbors. Sit the fuck down. Oh, I'm going to quote the Constitution. 10th Amendment, you can't do that. No, mandate. They can quote the Constitution all day, but if you don't understand it, it doesn't mean anything. Vaccine mandates are not unconstitutional. And we have a public health crisis. So, yes, you're being selfish if you don't get the vaccine. Even George Washington vaccinated his troops. All right. So now, that said, what's the issue here with Jake Tapper? What's the problem I have with Jake Tapper? Well, I'm going to let him explain his position on why he thinks Biden's tone was not good.
This is part of the American public. This is part of the ethos in this country. People don't want big government telling them what to do. Now, the difference between now and back then is now the anti-science component of our society is bigger. And it has, there are grifters, there are people who are using this for ratings, for clicks, all sorts of, for votes. And so I haven't yet really seen the Biden administration talk or try to address this. I don't think scolding is the approach. There are these purveyors of misinformation out there, and they're not just on the right. Robert Kennedy Jr. is one of the most notorious ones. And I haven't seen the president or anyone say, look, people, like he's scolding the people that are being lied to as opposed to the liars. You know what I mean? Like instead of saying there are a bunch of people just trying to get your money, trying to get your attention, trying to get your votes, trying to get your views and clicks, they're lying to you. Instead of shaming the liars and trying to educate the people being lied to, he's scolding the people being lied to. And again, as with the election lie, you can get mad at the people who believe the lies, but the villains are the liars.
All right, so before I get into that, yes, George Orwell, 1985, that was sarcasm, by the way. So, you know, we all like, kind of make that joke, like they always misrepresent 1984 or the meaning behind 1984. It's not supposed to be a handbook, okay? But anyway, so here's the thing. Does Tapper make some good points, some true points? Yeah, of course. Yes, there's a ton of disinformation floating around about COVID-19 and the vaccines. Now, why does that exist? Bill Clinton. Oh, wait, what does Bill Clinton have to do with this? The 1996 Telecommunications Act, okay? That basically allowed people in the news, in the media, to lie. That's it. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about how corporate media has, in itself, by its own very structure, has sowed distrust in the people by being a big business that represents, unfortunately, different political parties and political interests. And that's not to say that the news media doesn't actually do factual reporting and good stories, but there is now this distrust for big corporate media that has permeated our society. And so even when they're saying things that are true, there are a lot of people out there that just don't believe it because of where it comes from. Oh, that's liberal media. Now, of course, liberal media is a joke. It doesn't actually exist. There's conservative media and there's establishment media. So again, it's weird because they're all confused over on CNN about why a big section of this country doesn't actually listen to them. And it's because, of course, media tends to serve their advertisers as well as the audiences. And he even alluded to that when he talked about how, oh, there are people with grifters with clicks and views and stuff. But that's how corporate media generally works. Advertising, clicks and views. And so, again, doesn't mean everything that CNN or MSNBC or in all that places says is false, but there is, of course, a perspective. There is a bias. And understand that, like, when you watch me, you're going to get my perspective, right? And, of course, I am biased towards the progressive side, and I'm completely honest about that, but I'm also honest about the facts. And so, and if I get it wrong, then I'm honest about getting it wrong, and I will correct myself. But again, I just find it interesting how confused they are, that they don't understand the very reasons that the media is very distrusted in this country, and why, of course, the country is so divided at this point. Big corporations, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, they serve the specific audiences. They do so for profit, for advertising. We no longer have people like Walter Cronkite that is out there giving people the news from an unbiased perspective. And so I think that's part of the problem, the result of that 1996 Telecommunications Act. And it's actually really a big part of all the grifters and the cause of grifters, our media atmosphere or environment of people being able to lie for clicks, because it is It is a business. It is, unfortunately, a profit-making venture. But again, nobody talks about that. So now, that said, going back to a point that Tapper had made earlier in that video, he said, "Well, why isn't Biden pushing back against the liars?" Well, yes, they've constantly spoken out against coronavirus misinformation, but it unfortunately hasn't had any sort of effect. 30% of the country lives in an alternative reality, and a lot of that is thanks to conservative media specifically. Again, you've got Facebook pages and Instagram full of anti-vax memes bankrolled by former Trump staffers. They're paying teenagers to pump out memes, and the result of all of this, all of this money flooding into misinformation is, look, it's a Sisyphean task to try to fight back against that, to try to even, keep up with it. And you would think somebody like Jake Tapper would actually understand that. And so, look, you can try to push back at disinformation all day long, and certainly I try to do that as much as I can in the show, but Biden's the president. He's actually got power, and so the tool that he has is to get tough with executive orders and legislation and the bully pulpit. And so that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. And so I think he should have actually done it sooner, honestly. And I'm sorry, Jake Tapper, if you don't like his tone, but Biden's right. And that's my other problem with corporate media, by the way. You're coddling these people. Like, insane people. And I don't know why. They hate CNN. They're always going to hate CNN. They're never going to trust you. Why are you coddling and protecting these people? All right? They're going to hate CNN. They're going to hate Biden. They're going to hate anything remotely considered to be on the left. Even if it's not inherently political at all, if the Democrat says, well, obviously this guy's blue, a conservative will be like, that's red! That's red! Like America! My heart pumps red for America! Just because a liberal says it, they're going to be against it. They're going to be against it. And that's the issue. And so, look, going back to how shouldn't be a partisan issue, vaccines, coronavirus should not have ever been political. It is a health issue. And so, and look, science isn't supposed to be partisan either. But you have bad faith actors, mainly on the right, that have turned this issue into a political issue, and now we've got to deal with it. And unfortunately, that's because of the world we live in, all right? And so I'm sorry, but Jake, stop coddling the babies. I'm done with it. Okay? I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to give in to the lunatic fringe. And yes, I'm saying it. They're lunatics. There was a man, by the way, who got COVID. I wish I had the video here. He got hospitalized, took all the medications, IV drips, all that stuff. He survived. He made it, but refuses to get the vaccine. Now, it's not because, I have natural antibodies. No, he knows all about that. He knows the facts of the information, but he still refuses to get the vaccine. Why? Because he thinks that they being the pharmaceutical industry, the company, held back the vaccine that he says works in order to screw over Donald Trump in the election. Well, if they held back that vaccine so that my president would lose. And so I ain't going to take their vaccine because they messed with my election and made sure Trump didn't win. That's insane. Insane. They live in a completely different reality. I mean, it just shows you, to them, facts don't matter. Only feelings. Only their little feelings. So you can't convince them. So really, I guess it doesn't really matter if you hurt their feelings. And one of my big problems, by the way, with CNN is that they cater to the feelings of fringe conservatives. Oh, watch your tone. Watch your tone. Don't be mean. Don't call them deplorables. You got to be nice. Fuck you. No, these people are out there saying the most horrendous shit online. And look, I don't even care. They say horrendous shit to me all the time. Doesn't hurt my feelings. You're a fucking clown. Like, I don't really care what you say, because all of it's incomprehensible, drivel anyway. But the thing that I actually care about is they're hurting people. They're putting people in danger. Y'all tried to overthrow the country. Y'all tried to take rights. You're doing so in Texas right now, from women, trans people, gay people, etc. You lie about other people, and that's my problem with the right wing. So I'm not going to sit there and be nice to those types of people, right? That think that, that I should die, or, people that I care about should die because of who they are. No, fuck you. I'm not at all interested in you. So now one more point, right? So Tapper just say, well, it's mainly the liars, right? I'm not saying the liars aren't the problem. Of course, the liars are the problem. They're one of the problems. The other problem is the people that have chosen to believe those lies. And the problem with that, of course, is there's truth everywhere. It's never been easier to access actual information. You just need to know where to look, okay? And so media literacy, unfortunately, there's a big part of the country that doesn't have any of that media literacy. And so what I'm saying, though, is the people who believe in those lies are absolutely at fault for doing so. They are responsible for their actions. They are adults. Jake Tapper is infantilizing them in order to cover for them. Oh, poor conservatives. Oh, they're being lied to. Yeah, of course they're being lied to. We know they're being lied to. I mean, the American people are being lied to all the damn time by both Democratic and Republican administrations. Yes, we're being lied to. I know. But like at the same time, these conservatives are choosing to believe in the most insane lies. And they're choosing to believe it. And guess what? That is on them. And so I don't care if Biden uses a scolding tone on these people, because they fucking deserve it. All right. Moving on. Yeah, I know. I'm still going. I still got 2 more stories, so hang on. I ain't even done yet. On Thursday, CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan spoke with a Trump supporter named Mary Quintanilla about her views on Facebook fact-checking. So Facebook, I don't know if you've been on Facebook. Some people don't, are not on Facebook. Some people are. You might have noticed that they have fact-checking. Okay, so if there's a false article or a misleading article, they'll put a little disclaimer on it. All right. So now, Donnie O'Sullivan goes and talks to this woman. She's a Trump supporter. And, well, he asked her, well, what do you think about the Facebook fact-checking? And the answer, of course, is, well, see for yourself.
I first met Mary Quintanilla at CPAC in Texas.
I've had some notifications with regards to maybe some of the COVID issues. So they'll say that's, fact-checked and may not be accurate. And I just say, okay, and then I still post it. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
She's a Trump supporter and skeptical of most fact checks she sees online.
There's a video that Eric Trump retweeted a few days after the election that purported to show Trump ballots being set on fire.
Oh, I've seen that video.
That's false. The election officials who control in Virginia those set of ballots said they're not real ballots. Is that not a good service that something like that gets when it's shown to be false?
No.
Why not?
Because why can't somebody say, how do we know that's real? Aren't we smart enough to say, whose video is this?
Eric Trump wasn't smart enough. That video played into the idea on election week that there was all this mass fraud. It played into the idea.
No.
Are you often seeing these labels?
Yeah, lots. And I click on it, and it says, see why?
And you read the fact check?
Yeah, and it's more baloney.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, not everything, but it's kind of like the same old, same old. I mean, the problem is that you have people like myself who don't agree with their fact checking. How do we know? Really? The audit is showing that they are actually imitation ballots?
With this video that you shared, right? That
Yes.
the fact checkers are saying is false.
Yes.
I mean, I know in that
And
I know in that one paragraph,
Yeah.
you probably disagree with every single
No,
thing.
we're going to disagree with the fact checkers of Facebook because they already have their narrative set up with their fact checkers. No, not necessarily.
They go
I mean,
through it all. Facebook says all of its fact checkers are nonpartisan and go through a rigorous certification process.
Facebook is a place where you share information and you can kind of pick and choose which information you think is good and which information you think is not so great.
But if there's so much information, are you sort of cherry picking your facts?
You could. I mean, whose reality is important but your own reality?
But shouldn't we have a shared understanding of
You
it?
can't do it. It's impossible. It's impossible because of the bias.
Oh boy. Whose reality is more important than your own? Reality, like factual reality. And look, understand, this is why we can't get through to these people, okay? They would rather hold on to comfortable falsehoods than face reality, than face facts. I mean, again, they talked about alternative facts. They're literally living in alternative facts. And so they don't believe in information, real information. They don't trust fact checkers. They still spread disinformation because guess what? It makes them feel good. They get this good feeling from it. Yeah, I'm special. I'm better. I know more. I was gonna say woke, but then they hate that term. Oh yeah, no, you're the sheep. I'm the one who's actually knows what's going on, and you don't. And you know the reason you believe it is because you go along the mainstream, but I'm outside the mainstream. I see what's going on. Yeah, I know the real information from www.americanpatriot, balls.com. I don't know. Look, and that's the thing about conspiracy theories, okay? And why they take off on the right wing is because they make you feel good, especially in times of uncertainty. And we certainly live in uncertain times. Right now, the Republican Party itself is facing an existential crisis. And that existential crisis, of course, is of their own design. And so, look, the Republican Party, they serve the rich, they serve the donors. And I'm not saying the Democratic Party doesn't also do the same. But they do so, the Republicans do so more than anyone else. And so that party, though, in order to keep that dynamic going on, well, they have to lie. So, and come up with culture war issues. And so that's the thing. You have this focus on culture war issues because when it comes to policy positions, the Republican Party is generally just the party of giving more and more money to the rich, deregulating corporations, cutting taxes for wealthy Americans, and that's essentially it. And so in order to keep that going, because guess what? Those positions aren't actually popular with the vast majority of the American people, even conservatives. Well, you got to use the culture war. You got to use white grievance politics. So, and understand that if you've watched Fox News for any amount of time, you would think that the country's falling apart. You think the immigrants are pouring across the southern border like a scene from World War Z, right? Just a gigantic writhing mass of immigrants. Oh my God, they're coming. And so they evoke this language and these images in order to make you afraid. I mean, the terrorists are coming, the immigrants are coming, the liberals hate you, there's crime, Black Lives Matter is burning down entire cities. Entire cities. Well, what cities have burnt to the ground? Have any burnt to the ground? Any? I mean, there was an Arby's that caught on fire. Press F for respect. Okay. It's going to be all right, though. The Arby's was insured. It's been rebuilt. You can go get your curly fries, right, and your beef and cheddar. It's fine. You're going to be all right. Speaking of riots, have you ever seen England after a football match? Overturned cars everywhere. I mean, it's bad. Cars get set on fire. People riot over sports. And it's worse than anything you've ever seen during the the George Floyd protest, but it doesn't matter. They use that fear because it turns off people's brain. It just kind of empties it out. And of course, Fox News and conservative media have a way of filling that back up in order to keep you afraid. So they give you so many different reasons to make sure that you're always fearful of someone or something. And so, and of course, it has a secondary effect, which is obviously one of the major reasons why they do it too, is because it keeps you engaged, keeps your eyeballs glued to the TV. It gives you ratings, clicks, it gets you views. And of course, the Republican Party also operates as an arm, Fox News operates as an arm of the Republican Party. And so, it represents Republican candidates, Republican interests, and directs people to give to Republican causes. And so that's part of the game. So now, again, going back to the influence, if you believe in all this crazy stuff, and you believe that Fox News and Newsmax or whatever is the only source of information that's actually giving you real information, you're going to tune everything else out. And so it makes you more apt to believe, like, for example, if they come and say, well, cutting taxes to the rich helps you as a worker, and socialism is bad, and actually being in more democratic workplace is bad for you, unions are bad for you, all this stuff is bad for you, well, then you're not going to be in favor of that. And that's propaganda. That's how propaganda works. And so, again, if they also use it against Democrats too. So again, they tell you Democrats are evil, they're killing your babies, they're going to turn your wife into a Muslim, they're going to force feminize you and then murder and dethrone God, all that stuff. And so if you believe that, it doesn't matter how much Republicans are screwing you over and picking your pocket, you're still going to vote for them. And that's the other thing. So now, well, as long as it's not a Democrat. And look, you can draw a line, a parallel between, of course, this phenomenon and a phenomenon that happens over on the Democratic side, the blue no matter who people. Now, the only difference, of course, there is that the Republicans are actually as bad as we say they are on the issues. It just means that Democrats also can get away with not being that good because they can always point at Republicans for actually being legitimately worse, even though Democrats can get away with not being that much better. So, but anyway, just to show you, though, that this is far more effective on the right because disinformation is consumed more readily and spreads more easily on the right wing. The same with coronavirus. In a way. And so effectively, all of this has created an existential crisis. And that's, of course, because their base is shrinking. And I'm not saying that just because they're dying more of COVID, which they happen to be. No, they're primarily older Americans. They were always older Americans. Fox News always had a much older viewer base. The average, I think, Fox News viewer is like 72. And so they have that. There's also a big demographic problem. Younger generations are more diverse, they're more progressive, and they know that, which is why they're doing everything they can to stop young people from engaging in the political process and doubling down and tripling down in conspiracies, voter suppression as well. Look, all the voter fraud stuff, by the way, that's all about trying to get laws in the books to limit people from voting and to consolidate their own power. And look, they have the Supreme Court now for a generation. That matters. And of course, every time they lose power in a state to a Democrat, they immediately come in, or I should say, before they leave, they strip that seat and position of power. So, and that's what Republicans do. They know that the writing is on the wall. They know they're not going to win elections in the future unless they cheat, break the rules, lie, and rig things in their favor. And that's why, of course, the conspiracies are all over the place and on the right wing. And that's why the base, of course, believes those conspiracies. All this, I mean, again, adds to the perception that we are living in uncertain times, especially if you're on the right wing, because everything is a disaster. And so they'll cling to that false reality for as much as they can, for as long as they can, without actually changing the core of what they are. A party that serves mainly the interests of corporations and the rich. and using racism, xenophobia, fear to do it. That's just who they are. All right. One more story here. We got the Arizona story. Do it. The so-called audit of the 2020 presidential election in Arizona is still going on for some reason, somehow. That is despite, of course, the many embarrassing blunders and false promises made by the company contracted cyber ninjas. Okay. So now cyber ninjas, they haven't found the fraud. I know they're about to come out with a brand new report. They're supposed to present it to the Senate, all that stuff. But so far, what we've seen is no bamboo ballots, no evidence of the ghost of Hugo Chavez doing the Slimer thing all over Trump ballots for some reason. But of course, if you asked hardcore MAGA chuds and Q-nuts, they're going to tell you, we found a lot of things. There's so many things, great things, tremendous things. I mean, terrible things. Oh, really? Like what? Well, recently, an example of that was caught and corrected. And so you're going to see this so-called evidence they found backfire in their face. In fact, a political analyst at a local Arizona news station, ABC 15, caught the auditors in an incredibly embarrassing error. As reported by Vice News, one of the auditors this week released a report claiming that 2 votes cast in the 2020 election, a whole 2 votes, were mailed in from what she claimed was a vacant lot in the Maricopa County city of Goodyear. Now, at first when I read that, I was like, wait, a vacant Goodyear? No, a vacant lot in the town of Goodyear. So now, oh my God, it's 2 votes. Surely that is evidence of massive voter fraud, these 2 little votes. So now, they decided to look at the address. So I'm going to show you something here in a minute, but ABC's 15's Garrett Archer quickly discovered that the supposed vacant lot was not vacant at all. Actually, features a large house with a swimming pool. Tucson resident Andy Flack also followed up on Archer's reporting and used the Maricopa assessor's website to learn the address, listed as a supposedly vacant lot, is actually considered a single-family residence whose owners happen to match up with the voter registration records, meaning, of course, that the votes were 100% legal and legitimate because it came from people. So let me show you here. The image on the left side, of course, is the cover page of the report. Election 2020, 173,104 lost votes, 96,389 ghost votes. And then it gave the address. Now, the picture on the right is the supposed vacant lot at that same address. I don't know about you, but that does not really look vacant, does it? Again, swimming pool, nice house, and it's been there since 2016. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but this picture was taken back in 2015, 2016. So, you know, it was still there. Interesting. Very interesting. So now it gets better. Oh, it gets even better. I love it. So now, hours later, Liz Harris, and again, Liz Harris is the person that published this report. So she's one of the cyber ninjas, and she, I guess, is part of the Voter Integrity Project. Again, they claim that 173,000 votes were missing or lost, or that 100,000 votes nearly came from ghosts, literal ghosts. No, not literal ghosts. People who apparently didn't live there or appear to exist. But again, it gets better because hours later, she noticed the mistake and changed the picture on the front to another supposed vacant lot. But this time, once again, she got it wrong. Here's that second image. So now this time, That was supposed to be a vacant lot. But it's not, it's a trailer park. Okay. As Archer notes, they changed the cover photo and address, but it's not much better. There's a valid registered voter at that address and a mobile home park in December of 2019. The post office forwards mail for a year. Afterwards, they moved to the NVRA in active status. And so, look, that's completely legal. He followed up by saying, I've reached out to the county to see if they have another address on file. Update, they don't, but it doesn't matter since the voter moved out of the county and was removed with the rolls in February 2021. His ballot was forwarded to a temporary address, like what was supposed to happen, a temporary address in Maricopa County, so don't go down that rabbit hole either. So, oops and oops. They changed, by the way, when they changed the photo, they didn't tell anybody that they changed the photo. And they're still claiming that, no, this is where the fraud came from. The one fraudulent vote. I mean, 2 fraudulent votes. I mean, the many, huge, so many fraudulent votes. Oh, my God. That's how you know they be lying. Why you lying? Why you always lying? This is all they have. Vice News further commented that the whole situation could be dismissed as simply incompetence, or even be hilarious if it weren't so dangerous, as millions of Americans apparently believe the easily disprovable claims made by the auditors. Look, the head of Cyber Ninjas, this is why we all know it's a joke. The head of Cyber Ninjas is a Trump backer who believed, before he even got contracted, and this is the reason why he got contracted, by the way, in order to do this, because he believed the voter fraud conspiracy. So you hire a company whose goal, again, is not to find the truth, but it's to find evidence to back up the thing that they already believed, which was massive voter fraud. So he's trying to substantiate his already preconceived notions of what he thought happened in the election. I mean, that's why would anybody take any of these people seriously? They're not serious people. This is not a serious audit. It's not even close. And all the different reporting that I've talked about on the show from even Republican officials are like, this is not professional at all. This is a shit show. This is a disaster. Like, this is not an actual audit. They're not even using a method of auditing that is proven to work, that is actually proven to verify votes. They're just making it up as they go along. And this is an example of that. Oh, we found 2 fraudulent votes that actually were not fraudulent votes. We claim that it's from empty lots, ghost voters. But again, any little bit of scrutiny completely destroys their narrative with reality, because they're not living in reality. And again, they're trying to prove it, to prove something that they already believed, to people who, no matter what they say, no matter what they come up with, no matter how many times it's been proven to be false, the people that they're catering to will still continue to believe it. The hogs will eat the slop that they give out, and that's what's going to happen. They're just going to throw out a bunch of slop when they present their findings to the Senate, and the hogs will eat it up, and that's it. There's no dealing with these people. There's no trying to convince these people that they're already too far gone. What a joke. And again, it would be funny if it weren't so damn dangerous, this country. All right. So, wow. We went way over today. But I had to get all these stories done. There was a lot. There was a lot. So hopefully you enjoyed the extended show today. Later on, yes, somebody asked me earlier if I will be taking part in the Vosh charity stream. Yes, I will, actually. I'll be going on there later tonight. to have a conversation and try to raise money for Planned Parenthood. So we're looking to raise $100,000 for Planned Parenthood. Obviously, wonderful organization trying to help women in Texas be able to access not just abortion services, but women's healthcare services. So it is a very, very worthy cause. And so, yes, I'm going to take part in that. And we're going to do that. I'm actually going to, in Twitch, raid into his charity stream. So hopefully some of you will take part and donate, again, to that very, very worthy cause. So that said, donations here. Let's go to some of the donations that I have from you all and give you thanks and shout out. We have, let's see. Gabby Mathis says, Arizona recount is a joke and my tax money needs to end and I live in Maricopa. I'm really, really sorry. That sucks. Dragonheart, thank you for the very kind $10. And thank you, Weird Science TV. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Over here to Twitch, which I think there's a whole bunch of weirdo bots that have actually followed my stream for some odd reason. And so I might have to do a little house cleaning, even though they're not really doing anything right now. We'll see what happens. All right. That said, do the raid and end this week of shows. You can, of course, help us out by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, and do that. The raid. All right. Everybody, love you. Thank you. And remember, change begins with you. Night Nation. See you all Monday. Have a great weekend.
Please clap.
Oh my, I'm sorry.
Big massive dumps.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.